appreciate it very much. Before we get into talking about the topic today, the referendum, I do want to make one other important announcement unrelated to the referendum, what we're going to talk about, but it's happening today through Sunday. That's why I wanted to bring it up. So today in Wethersfield, we are bringing the American Veterans Traveling Tribute Wall to Wethersfield. It is coming around noon, 12 to 1 o'clock today in a motorcade, and it will be set up today at the Cove, right next to the DMV. It is open 24 hours, and if those of you who have been to Washington, D.C. and have seen the Vietnam Memorial Wall, this is an exact replica of it. It's the size of a football field. We will also have 72 other smaller panels, smaller walls, smaller panels commemorating all of the conflicts from World War I through Afghanistan, including 9/11. And I also invite you to tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we will be having a flyover, public ceremony. And at 12:30, the governor will be here to commemorate and honor our veterans and our fallen heroes, and we'll have a little ceremony probably 12:30 to 1. So those of you who would like to make it, we would love to have you tomorrow. And then it's here till Sunday. It's here 24 hours if you want to just take a walk around. This is a solemn tribute to our fallen heroes and to our veterans. So I just wanted to make you aware of that because it's happening today. So we're here today to talk about the referendum, and I'm here with Mindy Gold and Sally Keating, who are involved with the PAC and have a lot of information to share with you and personal stories, and also Janice DeRoberts from the Board of Education. So I want to just start myself, and then I'll hand it over to them. And we'll take 5-7 minutes to chat with you, and then we'll open up the rest of the time for your questions and comments, okay? So these are just my views. They do not represent the town's views or the town council or Board of Education. These are Ken Lesser. I have 3 children, 3 girls. 2 of them went through the Wethersfield schools. They graduated. They are wonderful. I am so blessed to have these 3 children. Having 3 girls is why I'm so gray. You guys can see all the gray hair. If you've had girls, they're amazing, but they give me some wonderful, wonderful challenges. The baby is studying in Florence, Italy. We're so blessed to be able to go visit her. So my kids are not in the schools anymore, but I feel that this project is so important for our kids, for our teachers, and for the future of Wethersfield. And let me quickly tell you why, and then I'm going to pass it to Sally, and then why I feel it's so important is in order for us to have optimum learning, to have the safest environment, we have to update and upgrade these schools. It will lift up our students, it will lift up our teachers, and lift up our community and property values. I've heard from teachers, from students, from parents, from young people, from older people, the schools are in such bad condition and that we need to do something about that. And these schools are 60, 70 years old. They're tired. And we can talk about how they got there, and I'm sure there may be some questions about that. But we've got a large reimbursement rate. You all know that from the state of Connecticut. We can talk about the specifics. I hope you all have received the pamphlet. There's a copy of the pamphlet here. We can review it. I can pass it around. We can certainly, I might refer to it. But I feel that this is an investment. Now let me leave you with this quote, and then I'm going to pass it on. Ben Franklin said, "The investment that pays the most interest is the investment in education." The investment that pays the most interest is the investment in education. So I'm going to stop there. There are people working on this longer than I who are going to tell you a little bit about their feelings, and then we'll open it up to questions. So I don't know who wanted to go next. So Sally Keating. Sally.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for allowing us to come here to have this discussion with you. I too am a senior, so I appreciate, and on a fixed income, so I'm sure that's what a lot of the questions are about nowadays is the finances, and so I'm sure that'll come up. But so my story is I've been in town for 32 years, had 2 kids go through the Wethersfield school system, and now I am blessed to have an 8-year-old granddaughter who is now at Hamner Elementary. When my granddaughter was at Emerson Williams, in her Girl Scout troop, we took a walk around the building one day to pick up all the garbage on the school property. And what I saw in the back of Emerson Williams School just shocked me. There were window screens that were ripped away on numerous windows. All the windows slide, and there are no window stops, and it's all ground level floor. Chipping, peeling paint, and one vent on the front of the building that was falling down. So mice, squirrels, whatever critters could easily get into the school. So that started me. So I started going to, the Board of Education has a subcommittee called Facilities and Maintenance, and I started going to those meetings to say, what are we doing? How are we maintaining these schools? So that was my leap into this. Was on the ad hoc committee that was formed a couple years ago, and there are a number of people in the room who were on that committee where we talked about, we did the big white boards where we talked about what's possible, what do we like, what do we don't, what don't we like, what are the problems with the schools. So we've gone through this. One of the beautiful things about our PAC, we learned a lot from South Windsor, and the woman who started their PAC up in South Windsor, where they went from 5 elementary schools down to 4, and beautiful, incredible schools, just really, really wonderful. Learned about this. I asked to see Highcrest School because I had heard some awful things about it, and I've never been to Highcrest. I've been to Emerson and Hamner. I've never been in Charles Wright. But anyway, so I went through Highcrest, and I was just appalled, absolutely appalled. I've worked in some tough buildings in my lifetime, not exactly beautiful or cleanest or what have you, but Highcrest School, everything from the basic design where you have a strange roof line that is just not conducive to easy repairs, and prone to leaks, mold everywhere, chipping tile floors, 2 classrooms that were supposed to be temporary that are there now long-term for many years. Just amazing. One teacher showed us they have, what they do in that school is they have what are called heatilators. They don't have a standard HVAC system, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And so this teacher showed us how she puts her 2 Allen wrenches in the unit, turns it, opens it up to turn it on. So I got to see the inner workings of it. And it was awful. She told us how when the weather starts to get colder, she considers, does she ask the kids to put their sweatshirts on or keep their sweatshirts on or turn on the heat? So that's kind of what we're up against. We have 2 schools. I mean, we talked about the money. I know of at least 2 schools where the HVAC systems are so old, they set them at 75 in the winter, and because they can no longer get the parts, they can no longer control them, and believe, well, you got small kids moving around 85 degrees, what do? They get very lethargic, that's not a good learning environment. And so what they do is they either turn on air conditioning or they open the windows. And you and I are all paying for that. We're paying for the energy inefficiency. So I could go on and on and on about many, many stories, but I'd like to introduce Mindy next. I came to know Mindy because Mindy has 2 beautiful young children, 1 and 4, and so she went to vote a year and a half ago, and she brought her young son, Jamie, to Webb School, all excited, saying to Jamie, this is going to be your school you're going to go to. This is going to be your elementary school. And she walked in, and she was very upset with what she saw. For those of you who've seen Webb, the chipping, peeling paint around the windows is just unbelievable. It's shocking that that's in an elementary school. So anyway, Mindy reached out to me, and we had a good discussion, and now she's been full on board with our PAC to try and educate people about what's wrong with our schools and why we need to do this work. So I'm going to hand it over to Mindy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sally. as Ken and Sally both said, thank you so much for letting us be here today in the pandemic. And so we said we need to go to the suburbs. We need to go near our grandparents, near the kids' grandparents, so they can be raised in that kind of village environment that my husband and I were both very lucky to be raised in. When we were looking at towns to move to, I grew up in South Windsor, and I saw the way that my elementary school that I attended when I was a kid, that was built in the 1950s, had just been completely demolished, rebuilt as new. The Philip R. Smith Elementary School on Avery Street in South Windsor. It's a gorgeous building. You almost can't believe that is the facility that little kids get to grow up learning in. I looked, when I came and looked at this house in Bakersfield that I really loved, right? So when the first referendum failed in 2022, I was pretty disappointed. And so when I heard about this effort getting restarted, I did reach out to Sally, and I was very excited to get on board. I've been attending town council meetings since I think December of last year, advisory building committee meetings. I wrote a letter for the Rare Reminder, I think in either December or early this year. So I've been trying to pay as much attention as I can, not only to the facts that are coming out of the amazing consultants we've been working with at TSKP, but also agree that children deserve the best. Advocate for them. I'm sure we all agree that they deserve really great environments, and I'm sure a lot of the discussion today will be how we pay for it. I think what's really important for me to convey, if you haven't heard this already, is that while we are asking in this referendum for voters to allow the town to bond up to $88 million, $88 million will be the cap, even though there are $239 million in estimated construction costs. Because of the state reimbursement, we are asking the town to bond up to $88 million. That is for the first 3 schools that are in this referendum. If we vote no, if we turn down this opportunity, there are still millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of fixes that need to be done to the elementary schools just to get them up to code. So a rough estimate was done. They did not go in depth in the no option, asking the town to vote on a referendum to redo the elementary schools. So this has to be done at some point. I think we're all really excited about the state reimbursement rate that we get with this opportunity in front of us. If there was a free option, I would be here telling you all to vote for the free option. Little kids are very expensive. I hear you about the cost of living. I pay $23,000 a year for childcare. However, that's just not the choice in front of us, in my opinion. So very excited to engage with all of you and answer some questions.
The dollar amount and what we are getting reimbursed. We are wondering, a lot of people say, what are we building here for these kids? I know we are building a future for them, but are we building them a palace, or what? We are supposed to be building them educational institution, and we are also observing that many of these kids are having too many extracurricular activities that they do not have time to do homework, and they are not performing to the expectation that the amount of dollars are being spent for each kid's year.
It is sent out through the town manager's
It
office.
doesn't say that.
So whenever we do
What I'm getting at is no one's taking ownership to this. Usually the Board of Ed or the superintendent or the town manager.
yeah, thank you.
Neither.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
3 are not.
Thank you for that. Whenever we do a referendum, and we've done several of them, it goes through the town manager's office, and it is approved or done with in conjunction with the bond counsel. The bond counsel is hired by the town as a lawyer, as an attorney, to help write the referendum, this referendum, any referendum. But to answer your question specifically, it comes out of the town manager's office.
Okay. It doesn't say that.
It's a fair point. Yep.
Good morning, everybody. What is the maintenance component of the education budget that runs it? Like, how much it costs per year do you maintain it? Now, I'm going to give you my agenda and be full disclosure. I've never had children. I understand I have to pay for it. So all of you have kids, I all have an interest. My interest is to responsibly budget my money, and unfortunately, you're in this first, or now you're going to the second phase of a phase-in. So you got a $500 thing I'm looking at in 2030, and and this was helpful. Thank you very much. That's $50 a month. I'm asking, how is the most economic way can we afford it? And I believe you do. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Have you taken into account the escalation? We know construction. It's not. I just ask you for not to exceed. What happens if this goes over?
So that's baked in. So the idea of inflation, just costs, that is baked in, because what we don't, again, the reason it says up to $88 million is so that we don't have to come back to taxpayers and say, whoops, we're over budget.
Out there, that's 90% complete. Someone's going to come back to the hollow treasury and say, we've gone over.
Yeah.
You can go over, because you got a 90% facility complete, and I'm figuring 10% overage.
Well, I understand your point, it's a fair point. The overage is built into that 88 million.
I understand. What happens above it? Look at inflation. And I'm not picking on you, anybody.
No. This is a respectful discussion. We're not here to change people. A lot of people have decided we're here to have a discussion.
This is an honest question.
Yeah, and it's a fair
no
question.
red or blue here. It's
It's a fair question.
For a living, she and her father do construction estimating. So this is what she does as a job every day of her career, okay? We have Rich Sitnick, who has worked for Malcolm Pierney for many, many years, well acquainted with putting together budgets and all. And we have Brian, I can't think of Brian's last name. Again, he's a construction manager. So those were people, town residents, town residents who have good experience on this. Besides the other nice, wonderful group, Lauren Rhimes is now these very tuned into and very aware of cost overages, and that's why this contingency was built in. That's why it was, because they know things go over. I mean, you look at the high school; it was going along fine. There was money in the pot to do some work at Hamner until they found PCBs. Well, in my former life, I know what that does to budgets. When you got to get rid of the PCBs, you got to look at, is it leaching into the bricks, and on and on and on. It's not a cheap experience. So cost overruns do happen, and I appreciate that. Another thing that was brought up, in 2018, the budget for the maintenance of the schools was taken out of Board of Ed and into physical services.
Okay.
So physical services is run by Sally Katz. Great amount of respect for her. When I first started learning, I thought I was going to really be upset with Sally. Just don't raise our taxes, don't raise our taxes. So, it's a tough balance. It really is.
So we got you, but right here, and I know Alice and Jennifer, you got a busy job.
Election day is special, sacred. Kids learn about it when they're young. Mid-September is when empty nesters go on vacation because the weather's still warm and the crowds are lower. Why is the most expensive referendum in town history being held on a date when most people don't?
So thank you, and it's a fair question, and I get it all the time. I do a lot of canvassing door to door, and that question comes up. It's come up from residents a lot, and I'll give you my answer, and I thank you for the question. It's a good one. We feel that this issue is so important, the biggest issue in town, that it deserved its own day, the future of our schools. I know there's some disagreement with that, but when you go to vote in November, typically when people vote, they're deciding which candidates to vote for, right? We all do, which candidates want to vote for. Typically when you have questions on a ballot, they are not the first thing that people consider. We all consider, this is all important, I get that, I'm not minimizing that for sure. Alice. No, you're after Alice, I had to get Alice first.
Oh, okay.
Alice, whose birthday party I went to last month.
I know, and thank you so much for what you did for me. That was
Can we say what birthday number it was?
90.
Alice turned 90, I was invited to invited to her birthday party and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
He was very kind to present me with something, which I was very grateful for. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
put it into my crypt when I go. Anyway, in case somebody opens up the place in 1,000 years, they'll be able to see.
It was my pleasure.
Stuff like that.
Go ahead.
I'd like to have us the most magnificent schools in the whole state. Very hard economic times. Have we paid off the bond on the high school yet?
Almost just about done. It will be
Okay.
done. It'll be done before this one starts, but
Okay.
it's not done yet.
Okay, but the other thing is, okay, if we can manage with repairs and whatnot, I mean, it gets me that we have buildings that have been here for nearly 400 years are still being used in Old Town Weathersfield, but we can't maintain brick and mortar schools for more than 20 years, it seems like. And it kicks the can down the road. Every council has been guilty of that, I think. Okay, what do you do? We also have a tendency to want to
Now we can hear you better.
keep up with neighboring towns, like keeping up with the Joneses. Now, Roger made a very good point. You're going to have to cut out some of the fluff. For instance, the sports programs. Limit it to physical education instead of competitive sports. Pickleball, for heaven's sakes, tennis, whatever. You know, things that do not cost a great deal and do not require maintenance of fancy fields and things like that. Those are the things you cut out to get the money to put into whatever is absolutely necessary for the physical plan of the schools. We just have to be careful. These are very uncertain times. Not only are we likely to be troubled by inflation, we could very well go into a recession. And that ain't a pretty thing. I grew up in one. Anyway, the only thing saved us was war. However, war did not bring prosperity in the sense that we wanted it at the time. There was a lot of sacrifice that had to be made. And we're not accustomed in our more recent generations to making those kind of sacrifices. But they may be coming our way, whether we like it or not. And I think you have to consider that before you go into debt. I would not go into debt at all at this time.
Thank you, Alice.
I'm sorry to be...
Thank you. We want to get to everybody.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to this lady's point about physical services and Sally. I'm on the Capital Improvement Commission, and our commission is tasked with allocating or prioritizing the projects in town. So Sally will come to us and say, well, we need a new roof at High Crest. Wow, a new roof. Now, if you look at the writings here, that school was destined to be taken down. So why didn't we repair that roof a long time ago? Okay? So maintenance seems to be the big issue. Okay, and it's both sides of the aisle, administrations. Okay, so I think in January we prioritize for the town council to look at the projects, and then they decide which ones to do. And I think the money that was allocated was like $1.3 million. Does that ring a bell?
It's usually $1.5 million a year, and we typically get about $8.5 million of requests from the town departments that go to the commission. They make recommendations. The town usually between $1 million and $1.5 million, but the requests are typically $8.5 million.
So see the point? We need $8 million worth of repairs, not $1.5 million, $8 million. So, and I remember you said to me, I said, why don't we allocate more money? Well, we want to try to keep the mill rate down. Can you address that?
So we mentioned that. So Weathersfield, we really have to build up our business community to help impact the mill rate, and we have a lot of new businesses coming in. We have on Jordan Lane, we have something that's going to be one of our highest taxpayers, 160 new apartments. We have the auction house. These buildings have been empty a long time. But until we build up our business base, we have an undue burden, taxes. Unlike other towns, Rocky Hill, Newington, they have lower mill rates. They have a bigger business and industrial tax base. We've had that problem here in Weathersfield. We're working on it. It's not an easy solution.
But you see, we have to live within our means. That's the whole point.
Yep, I agree.
So thank you for that. We make sure we get everybody.
I agree with you about the extracurricular sports things. Get ready, because the Millwoods master plan is coming. We're gonna have to pay for that as well.
And Keisha.
And Keisha Farm.
Because if it happens as I say, we will need that farmland desperately.
I have a question. People assume that it's only the elderly who are against this referendum, to the point where we're being bullied. Yet we have vote no signs across the full spectrum of your constituents: younger taxpayers, first-time homeowners, young professionals, single adult households, etc. How are you going to address this issue?
I'll start with that one. So thank you for that. You and I have talked about this.
Mhm.
There's no place for bullying. There is no place for bullying on this issue or any issue. We have to remain respectful. You heard me say it before. That part of democracy for us to disagree, to have good conversations like we're having today, you shouldn't be getting bullied. So if you guys are getting bullied online, you should let me know, or in person.
Okay.
So you can report that. You know how to get a hold of me?
Yes. Yes.
You contact me. There is no excuse for bullying. You shouldn't be doing. And whatever side you're on, no or yes, there's no excuse for doing it. None. Zero. So if you want to talk separately, we talked a little bit about it.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk to you. And Diane, I know you and I have talked about this as well.
Yes, we have.
So,
On dead bird.
What about the rest of the question?
go repeat that. I need some help. I was so fixed on the bullying. So
Okay. Let me get there.
sorry about that. And maybe helpful as we get more time. Some of you, I know most of you, I don't know all of you. Use your name so we can kind of.
Nancy Correa.
Nancy, thank you.
We have vote no signs across the full spectrum of your constituents: younger taxpayers, first-time homeowners, young professionals, and everybody else that cannot afford all of this. It's not only the elderly, it's a lot of us. And even some parents who have children in the school cannot afford this. How are you going to address this? It seems to me like a class issue more than an ageist issue, which it has become.
Do you guys want to, I don't want to be the only one speaking, but I certainly can address it. Yeah, so Nancy, we recognize that there are people in favor of this in all ages and classes, and there are people against this in all ages and classes. The only way we can address this, if it passes, is we have to be, as good as we can, stewards of the budget. And what I mean by that, and this is my personal philosophy, it's not the town council, that we have to have lean budgets but still have targeted investments. We have to invest in the town. The town has to move forward. We have to invest in things, in my view, education, police, and fire. It's important to make investments, but in a targeted way. So I think your point is well taken. There are so many struggles. There was a study that 40% of Americans struggle to pay their bills. Not Weathersfield, just Weathersfield part of that, obviously. 40%. So we're concerned about that. So in my view, again, you have to try to be lean with the budgets. That's what we can control, and have target investments. I think education is a good place to invest in. But understand. Yep,
Right here. Yep.
I just want to say that it seems like there's just a contingent that says repair only, and another group that says this program here. I'm for the school improvements, but other alternatives were presented by TSKP that would save tens of millions of dollars, and that would be consolidating from the 5 schools to either 4 or 3. That would save millions, tens of millions of dollars. And I presented that at a meeting at High Crest School, and my comments were not even put into the minutes. And I complained to the council on that, to put that into the minutes, that they would save millions, tens of millions of dollars on it.
If you voted no, why did you vote no? And the number one reason was money. The second reason was the closing of Charles Wright. You have a community there that loves the school. And to me, I wasn't that familiar with the Charles Wright community. Well, I've gotten to know some of the people there, and they have an incredible school community. And so when everybody was formulating this, it was, well, could we close one of the schools? And it was just, the feeling was, we really know we need to get this done. And if we close one school or more schools, we're gonna have a lot of pushback from those communities, and we need to get the schools fixed. I mean,
Can I
it's
comment
a-
about that survey? It was a very limited survey. I participated in that. It only went to a little over 1,000. And it was people that were on the town website on there, so it did not address most people. And there was no cost associated with it. So, hey, you want 5 schools? Yeah. You want 3 schools? You want 4 schools? Everyone's going to say that unless there's an associated cost. And of course, this is millions and millions more than these alternatives.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have a good survey of the town. I requested a survey to be taken, including all people in the town, not just this group that's mostly affiliated with the schools. It was not a good survey.
I thought the survey went out town-wide. That was what I thought.
No,
But-
I've asked for flyers also to go around the town to inform people. That's never happened. I was denied twice.
The other thing is that it costs money. So to your point, if we had decided, okay, instead of 5 schools, we're gonna do 4 schools or 3 schools, then you have to do cost estimates for all of that. Well, who's gonna do those cost estimates? I mean, realistically, it would be TSKP and Downs, and so we have to pay for that. So, how much do we wanna pay?
Still not as much.
So that should have been done.
Still not as much.
You know, you're right.
People passed that, right?
It was done?
Janice, you're gonna have, if you're gonna talk, you're gonna need the microphone.
There were cost estimates given to us all along the way, TSKP. Has been really good about really informing us about every aspect. So I believe that happened. And my understanding was that putting Charles Wright in didn't add as much money as they thought it would be originally, as we had been led to believe previously. But I would have to look all that stuff up, but I'm just about positive.
It's a fair
There
question.
was, if I just finish on that, there was something that came out of the December 17th meeting when most people were doing stuff for the holidays on there. And you can look it up with a QR code and you can see what the costs were just for construction. That does not talk about ongoing costs of maintaining 5 buildings opposed to if you chose 3. 3 is going to be millions and millions less than 5.
It's a
Well,
fair.
the problem with the 3 too is that didn't appear to be a popular option.
People were surveyed.
Listen, it's a fair question. This is a
Well, it's full of
complicated
tough choices.
issue. These are all complicated issues. It's hard to close neighborhood schools, very difficult to close a school, but your point is well taken. Thank you. We've talked about it. Olivia?
I just have one quick
Oh,
question.
Diana, no,
If-
oh, you
If this doesn't go through, now, do you have a backup plan? What
want to take
happens?
the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry, this one quick, I just want to know. Thank you, Jennifer. If this doesn't pass the referendum in September, do you have a backup plan? What's going to happen? Are you still going to lose the money that we're getting for the funds? Or are we going, you're still going to go another alternative? Yeah, okay.
There's
Thank
other
you.
funds.
Tell me if you can't hear me, but
Yeah,
I
could
think
you
you
use the
want-
microphone? I'm
use the
sorry.
Diana, you're next.
The quickest way to answer that question is we would have to start doing the $66 million in maintenance costs. And yes, we do lose out on the state reimbursement. That money, which is your tax money, which that point has been made many, many times, the state money is taxpayer money from across the state. That money would go to other towns who are applying for state reimbursement through these school renovation projects. So that money would go elsewhere. So I would say those are the 2 big impacts if this does not pass. We lose out on that state reimbursement of $151 million, and we would have to start looking at the maintenance costs to get through the next 5 years, which is probably about $66 million.
Okay, thank
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Diane. I don't believe anybody here is debating that our schools need some help. However, the most expensive option for the school project was selected. $239 million is a lot of money, and so is nearly $400 million if we pull in phase 2. Regardless of state assistance, which I believe will be here in future times, we're not going to lose it forever, taxpayers will still face significant tax increases ahead. Phase 1 carries a large tax increase with a 20-year payment obligation.
Right.
Phase 2 carries yet another large tax increase with an additional 20-year payment obligation. Taxpayers are already on the hook for 3 more years of increased taxes due to the town's recent property assessment. Mayor Lester, this question is for you. Since the town cannot continue its current spending habits and expect its residents to shoulder unending tax increases, what are the town's future plans to balance a budget that will help our residents from moving out of Wethersfield due to a lack of affordability?
Yeah. It's a great question, Diane. And before I answer it, I'll just let everyone know, Diane has probably the best manicured lawn in the town of Wethersfield. Diane lives near me, and I do a walk by her house, and I'm jealous.
It's my husband, not me.
I'm jealous. But it's a serious question, and let me give you a serious answer. So, it's expensive to live in Wethersfield. We have to make certain investments. This is an investment that some of us think is really important in our schools and in our kids and our future. But the answer to your question is, and I started talking about before, we have to build up our business base. We have to get our commercial business base higher. We are lower. The residential burden in Wethersfield is higher than Rocky Hill, Newington. A lot of reasons for that. They have more industrial, they have more open space to build. But we're working on that, and I mentioned it before. We're going to have a huge taxpayer on Jordan Lane pay us about $800,000 a year in taxes. That's the old Mediplex. For those of you who remember, it'll be 160 apartments. Another big taxpayer will be the old auction house. It's been empty for years. We need to convert these properties into high-performing, high-tax-paying properties. Some of them we're already on record, as I said, Jordan Lane, to do. We need to do more of that. So that will ease the burden on us a little bit. We also, in my view, from a town council standpoint, we have to be careful with the budget. In my view, 3%, that's about where we need to be because that covers like salaries and benefits. So we have to, that's an increase, by the way, on a yearly basis. So it's a really important, because I recognize a lot of people, Diane, are on fixed income. We don't want people to leave Wethersfield. This is a beautiful town. We all love the benefits here, of living here. The schools are one of the most important things. I say this, schools are the front porch of a community. Many, many people pick the town they live in based on the quality of their schools. There are other factors, police, fire, parks, all important. They all require investments. They all require money. Our job is to build the business community. So the answer to your question is we need to get more business. I'm working on it. We're working on it. It takes a little bit of time, but fair's left. 5 minute warning.
I haven't.
Jennifer, I'm going to give it back to you.
I've been holding it up for a while, and
Yeah,
nobody has done it to me. Okay, I just want to say something to everybody. This September referendum is going to be costing the town about $23,000? Something like that? Once again, if this town was focused on cost saving, we would have had it in November. Okay? Come on. This is one reason to vote no, of many, many, many reasons to vote no. And number 2, I just want to say something else. I know this. You were talking just a minute ago, you were talking about the 239 and you wanted to know about the building. Why is it so expensive? Where are the details? Where can I go right now? Can I go to the library? Can I go to the town hall? I want to see the details. When I have, and I used to have, whatever, but when my parents had a house and they wanted work done, they would get estimates, and they would have the details for each item on the estimate bill. We have not seen, despite inquiries to the town manager, and I believe questions have been asked many times, where are the details? How could anyone vote yes on something that is not understood about the details? That's like telling me I'm, okay, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, I'm sorry. And what concerns me here too, please let me continue, is that you're talking about a new school. We're hearing from you a new school over there at High Crest, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you look at the data from the state of Connecticut, I will give it to you if you like it later on. It talks about that we do not have a population increase, okay? And they're talking about an expanded school. Expanded school. Much larger in footage. I went to a parochial school. I just want to say something. There were 40 students in my class. 40 students. And now I heard the complaints that, 17 is too much. I did very well in school, and most of my students did, and there was no complaints from any parents about this number of students being this high. And so, once again, I just want to finish. I'm sorry, we cannot vote on anything in September if we don't have the details of this. We don't have any details.
Can we answer the question?
Yay! Thank you.
So, thank you for that. So, thank you for that. Can you hear that? And I think we'll take one more question. I'm going to answer it. We'll take one more question because Amy tells me we have to be done at 11, and it's like 1 minute left. But let me answer your question. So, the details are based on after we go out to bid. This is how bond referendums are done all over the state of Connecticut. We have attorneys that do this for us. We don't decide that. We have a bond counsel, and we have to put it out if it passes out to bid. And the details come in the bid process, okay? And we review the bid process. We did already address, but I'm happy to talk to you privately about why we set it a date in September rather than November, but I'm happy to talk to you about that as well. But the bid will go out if it passes after that. We will get responses back, and the details come from the bidders.
You can't change your mind.
Another important part is that there are not expanded schools, they're right-sized schools. So you have some schools that have too much space that will be right-sized, and you will have other schools that are not the right size, but High Crest is the only one that's getting completely rebuilt. The other two schools will be renovated as new, so not rebuilt.
Right size as opposed to what? Right
So for
size.
instance,
Small population.
So for instance, Hamner has classrooms that are too big for the amount of kids that are in the classroom. So when you are paying for extra space, you're not using it efficiently. So we're paying for space that's not being used efficiently. So when we do get to Hamner eventually, we'll be able to right size the school and have a more efficient building with better use of space.
Stay the mic, and then we'll take one more question.
Respond to the 17. No one's complaining about the 17. It's when you compare the 17 in this classroom in this school and the 30 over here, it's inequitable. That's what it is. So when we say right sizing, once Webb is done and it's all 5, 6 there, the rest of the schools are going to become K through 4, and the idea is that each grade has 3 classrooms in each of those schools, and the population is consistent. It is not going down. I saw numbers last night.
No, it's going down.
Of the children in the schools?
143 decline from 2022. We have proof from EdSite, the Connecticut State website for data. This is where you go for your data. It has decreased from 2022 to 25 by 143 students. Please don't say it's stable. Please don't say.
Okay, well, I had something sent to me last night from the Board of Ed, and comparing it to numbers I had previously.
That information dates back to about 2017.
It's level. It's level.
It's only about 8%.
We want to get one more question. Councilor Sally.
You're speaking about businesses. What about that Weight Watchers on the Silas State Highway? That's been vacant for 30, 35 years.
So there's a question about Weight Watchers on the Silestein Highway, and we're gonna wrap up with this. That property has been sold, and it was sold a couple of years ago. There's a warehouse in there, they're paying taxes. We are looking at them because it's complicated, but I'd actually like to, I can talk to you offline, prefer a different owner. There's a warehouse in there, and they are paying taxes. But we could get much better than we're getting. And we're trying to, we'd like to get them out. It's complicated to get them out. We're working on it. Thank you. I want to just comment on that, and then we're going to wrap up.
One other quick thing about costs. So if you want to get ballpark ideas, on the Board of Ed website are the 2018 and the 2023 facility assessments, and there are costs there associated with it. The one other thing I wanted to mention that we don't talk enough about is that our schools are 53 to 73 years old. How many in this room went to school and had a whiteboard in your classroom, an interactive whiteboard? Not me, not any of you, okay?
And we got through it.
How many, and you got through it, but let me just finish the thought.
Sure.
There's how many?
Nothing to do with anything.
No, it does, it does. The coding classes, how many coding classes do you see? The world is evolving. We want our children to be ready for the future economy.
8%
Learn how to add.
Thank you for your time.
I'm going to say thank you. You guys all know how to get
Learn how to add.
Good job correctly. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you very much.